Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Chatting with Air Bubbles. I hope you've enjoyed the few episodes we've had so far, and I'm excited because we're going to be talking about something that I'm actually not really super familiar with because this is a month to talk about anime and movies, but we're here to talk about anime and cosplay. And I have a special guest with me, Sammy, also a small Reenie lady. So first, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, like where can we find you, how long you've been cosplaying, and the dreaded question I've asked people, what is your favorite cosplay you've done?
Okay. Hi. As Air Bubbles has mentioned, my screen name is Small Reenie Lady. Real name Sammy. And I've been cosplaying since high school, which is a long time ago. So I've been cosplaying for over 20 years when cosplay was still that like really weird thing that those people did at the convention about cartoons. They weren't sure. They thought you were kind of bizarre and avoided you except for Halloween. Um,
Wait, it's not still that?
it's a little more understood. It's more like cool weird, not like scary weird when it was back then. Yeah. So yeah, I started off cosplaying from anime. Um really into like Cardcaptor and Sailor Moon when I was younger, so definitely did a lot of those. Um I went to my first anime convention when I was in college, and it turned from like a little hobby to like a huge hobby after that. And so a cosplay primarily from anime and video games. And so my favorite cosplay is my Yoshi cosplay, but particularly it's a yarn Yoshi cosplay, meaning yarn Yoshi is based on a crocheted doll of Yoshi for Nintendo. And I crocheted an entire outfit with yarn. And yep, I was walking out around the streets in a giant Yoshi costume. So that's pretty fun and epic, at least in my opinion. So
I think so too. It was great when you mentioned it. It was actually the picture that was on the slideshow. So as you're explaining it, people can see it. So it's perfect.
oh,
Is that one your favorite then?
that is definitely my favorite for two reasons. It's just hilarious to walk around and like bounce around because I didn't even know for the first year I was wearing it, my tail would bounce. So people were just staring at my tail, and I'm like, whatever, I don't know. And then it's hilarious because people are like, I can't believe she's an entire yarn outfit. It's very accurate in the sense that it's yarn. I'm like, the face is just me, right? But I mean, the concept of people who know the video games seeing this person in a yarn outfit was pretty hilarious. And then I carry around those little where they, like in birthday parties where they blow the little paper
Yep.
tongue. I blow that out, and it just gets everybody. It just cracks them up. So, and it's super comfortable. You people are it's like I'm inside a stuffed animal. It's super comfortable. It's very nimble. I don't, cosplayers sometimes they go through ridiculous amounts of discomfort to keep their costume, looking pristine. Things too tight, things like seams that are like very constricting, but this thing's so free. I could run around. I carry people. I have because usually carries people on their back, so I give people back piggyback rides. It's always one
That's
time I had a whole
amazing.
line. People are like, "Well, where do I get onto this lot for this ride?" I'm like, "No, I can't do past three people."
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. I love that.
Yeah.
I could definitely talk about Yoshi forever, but we got things to talk about. So give us like, the Reader's Digest version of like what is anime, just in case there's like,
Okay.
a new person out there.
Um. So anime is actually a Japanese word for cartoons. Like if we say cartoons, we know it is a animation, originally hand drawn, TV. So it's essentially words for cartoon in Japan, but over in other countries, we've just adopted the word anime to mean Japanese cartoons. And what's actually also interesting, although it's not anime, a lot of animes are based on comic books, which you can see a lot of. Um, and so a lot of times, not just the cartoon, but a lot of the community is also very much involved in comic books, which is called manga. So that's pretty cool that we have resources anime, which is the cartoon, and the manga that we can also use, which is the comic book version. So
Awesome. So you have a lot of manga behind you. So like
yeah.
how do you choose a character? Like, I mean, my husband watches a lot of anime. Like I couldn't pick from like 10 animes. That would be too hard. Like, how do you pick a character?
Um, it's very personal. I've done very different routes. I've done whether it's just a character I love from a show. So I love card characters. So I've cosplayed card character a few times just purely out of love the character. Sometimes, kind of like Yarn Yoshi, I pick costumes that are really fun to play. The characters' personalities are silly in a way that I'm willing to act this out when I'm in a surrounding of people I don't know. So, for example, in Rose and Maiden, there is this bratty little kid. It's actually a doll. The show whole series about dolls that are alive, and she is a brat. She whines and cries, and she throws tantrums and draws all over the floor. And watching the series is really annoying because she's a brat. But for me, when I was cosplaying, it gave me an excuse to throw crayons on the floor of the convention, lie on the floor, and just start scribbling on paper. I would like ask people, "You want me to draw your picture?" And they're like, "What?" And then I would just start drawing pictures of other cosplayers, and I hand them this paper like this really ridiculous toddler, and it just cracked people up. So like when I'm able to play characters that have such a silly vibe, it's just fun. So sometimes I pick characters, even characters I may not love, because the act of playing out the character is just too fun.
Yeah.
And then there are also just times where like an outfit's amazing, or there's a technique I want to try. Like this goes backwards. I don't pick the costume or the character based on their outfit, but more I wanted to learn to play with Warbler. So I picked a character that used a lot of armor just as an excuse to try techniques of Warbler.
That's great. I think that's a great like MO honestly for like any character, or any kind of like cosplay, whether it's anime or video game or whatever. But I really like that you wanted to try something new, so you picked a character based on that. But I also do suggest that you do also love the character, because you're going to be with them for a while.
That is
okay. So as far as like when you actually go, because so like when the few like animes I've seen, like they have either like gravity defying stuff or like giant stuff or just crazy looking stuff. Like how do you like take that image and like actually like breathe life into it so it makes sense? Like they always have like, either if they have armor it's like giant, or like sometimes their clothes like don't make any sense. Like how do you get inside of it? How do you get out of it? Like I know like video games can have that too, but I just feel like anime like takes that extra step to just make it really hard. So how do you break that down?
I think there's two ways to do it. I mean, there's the people who try to be super accurate. And in those cases, you need to figure out those gravity defying objects. Like, so using different materials. So like a lot of armor is made from foam, insulation foam, which is super lightweight. So like giant hammers would be super lightweight using insulation foam. Seriously, like you can twirl around, nobody will know. But it looks, if you just do a really good paint job, it can look really heavy and dark, and look like metal when it's literally just a pile of air in some plastic. That's how foam works, right? With costumes, a lot of times people can use wire to kind of create some of the float. You could use, I use like fishing twine, which is a lot of times clear, to kind of let things, so like if I have a giant tail, I might actually have a fishing twine from the back of my cloak that could string out to hold the tail up. Yes, it's not magic. People can see the wire, the thread a little, but I think when you're so past that, you just see this all of this giant tail that people, we're using our imagination. There needs to be an element of imagination. People just love it regardless. And then there's also a step back if you don't take precision, kind of like what I was mentioning with the personalities and playing the characters. You'd be surprised how much people forgo missing elements of costume if the person is playing the character. If the person is a loud, rowdy person and they just walk into the show floor just screaming their heads off, it doesn't matter if half of their costume is wrong. The personality is part of the costume that they're completely making it up for. So personality, I think, is a huge factor. A lot of people miss. A lot of people who are really in love with the character will fall into it, but a lot of people who are um, really scrutinizing the details of their costume often kind of miss that element. So I kind of actually see different types of cosplayers for that, and I try to use some of that personality element to kind of sidetrack if I didn't have enough time to finish an outfit that I know every cosplayer has experienced over and over.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that totally makes me think, like, I do feel like there are a lot more like grandiose personalities when it comes to anime. I'm not an expert. I have read a few manga in my day, but like, and I've watched a few, but yeah, I think that is a really good point, that there is a huge aspect of the personality in that. And I think I would totally pick a character from an anime or manga based on that personality and just really want to go with it. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go full into that character, but like, I think you're right, it is a big element of it, thinking about it a little bit. um so I know you've made a couple large props, and I know we talked a little bit about that, and anime and manga, I think, honestly have like some of the most beautiful like weapons and props in there, like just from pictures I've seen or things I've watched. Like, is there one that you've made that you really like, or is there one that you would like to make someday?
Um, so if I go back to the Hinagachigo comment, um, so here I have my toy. This is a different character from the series. I actually love the series so much. I've cosplayed 4 different characters from the series, including Shinku, which is this character. Um, and so, as I mentioned, they're dolls, and they're Victorian dolls. Where back in the day, they would live. They would be presented to the gift as a gift as a suitcase. So, so what's really cool about one day I was just walking through work and I saw in the hallway these giant boxes that were used to hold um, server racks, computers. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I could fit in that. Okay, that's how it went. And then I'm like, yeah, it's perfect because I was also watching this series. I'm like, I could totally fit in that. And so I asked them for these giant cardboard boxes. It took them about 3 months to give it to me because they just wouldn't empty them. I don't know why. Anyways, so what's awesome is, getting a little figurine can show you a lot of details of the outfits. So I was able to figure out, like, okay, naughty bit. She wears bloomers, not petticoat. And so I learned that from that. And then, like, also, I have all the details of the props based on the series, so I can make the accurate. I don't know what these are called, but just embellishments. I could follow the details. And so basically, my prop was seriously a giant suitcase that I would drag around the convention. And when people would ask for my picture, depending on the character, I really liked freaking out on them. And then like hopping into the box and like closing it on them. And I'd be on the convention floor like this. And I would like sit there for a minute and they'd be like, I don't know what just happened. And they're like, do I go away? And then I would open it up and I stick my arm out and I like shake my fist at them. And I close it again. And then people watch the series like would start coming and like waiting for me to open because they'd be curious what's happening. And then so I'd open it and let them take pictures, and it was really cool because like at conventions you don't really know where to eat your lunch sometimes. So I just sit in my box and eat my lunch, and people would take pictures of eating my lunch. I'm like, okay, whatever. I get in costume pictures and I'm eating my lunch and I look adorable. And so this was just hilarious. So this was a cosplay I did year after year. I used the same box over and over because all the characters had the same box, but I did different characters. And yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I dragged this around the University of Washington to take pictures, and people were just staring at me, what the heck is going on? But it sounds simple. It's just a giant cardboard box that I covered in pleather, made some embellishments, but it just made the whole scene so much fun to do.
That
So
is so cute. I love that so much. Oh my god. And you touched on a good point that I totally forgot to ask you, but like buying figurines or like if borrowing a friend's or whatever to take pictures, like figurines are going to be a great help for getting those details on the costume, because sometimes it's hard, I'm assuming, to grab from the cartoon or from the anime when you're watching it. I know there's a little more details in manga because they're drawn, so at least there's like a lot of resources to grab from.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you don't have a lot of money, definitely like reach out to the community, your friends. Like, I'm sure people would love to share. If you were like, I want to make this, they'd be like, here's all 20 of my manga, please read them and make it, and make me one too. um I feel like I want to ask you so many more questions, but we are like pretty much out of time. But I would love to ask, like, just to refresh where everyone can find you. I definitely advise everyone to check you out, because the Yarn Yoshi is one of my favorites, but you also make some other beautiful costumes. So where can we all find you?
You can find me on Instagram if you want to follow my work. Right now, it's a lot of fan-based work. I'm waiting for con season to come back in, but I'm also working on a baby Yoshi outfit right now. Yeah, for my future cosplay partner. Another place you can find me is on smallrainylady.com. I have all like my cosplay pictures there. I have a link to a crafting blog, which has both crafting, including a lot of cosplay topics. And then also, I do make some cosplay props as well that you can actually find using that link. So, you know, if you can't make everything, you can always support other cosplayers and get cosplay props that way.
Yes, absolutely, definitely. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm
Thank
so
you,
excited
Amy.
we got to talk. So we'll see you next time, everybody. Talk about more anime and movies. Bye.